So hello, welcome back to our live coverage of the UN Climate Talks here in Cancun, Mexico. I'm delighted to say I've been joined by Daryl Hannah, who you might recognise off some other TV screens. Daryl, my first question is, lots of celebrities have started talking about climate change now and about these kinds of issues, but what first got you motivated on this front? Why are you worried about this issue?
Common sense, survival instinct, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think it's obviously, it's something that we all need to be concerned about. It doesn't matter what you do, and it's something we need to act on in a dramatic fashion as quickly as possible. So I think all the voices that can get out there and all the people who can take action is what's needed. So.
And what kind of actions have you been taking? I know you've actually been taking some pretty radical actions, but in your own life at home, what kind of steps are you taking?
I've been off the grid for about 20 years, and I don't use petroleum in my vehicles. I try to educate myself and spread the word, spread the information that I learn.
And 20 years is a long time to have been aware about these kind of issues. How did you first get engaged in it? Is it something that came from your parents or from your upbringing? No. Like how are you so kind of progressive on this?
Well, I wasn't when I first got onto solar power. It really wasn't because of climate change. I didn't know anything about that. It was just because it made economic sense and not to have to, pay a bill every month. I knew I was going to be in my house for over 5 years, and that's how long it took to really pay off the solar panels if I had been paying electric bills. And also, I just believe in self-sufficiency, so I also grow a lot of my own food, and it just I realized when I was an adult that I could actually try to live by my beliefs rather than just hold them, and so it was important for me to try to do that. And it's a constant evolution. I'm still always trying to adapt to things as I learn them and follow better practices. I have a gray water system. My house is both passive and active solar, and it's also small. I don't have to live in a giant McMansion or anything. It's human scale.
And it's not only at home that you're kind of taking action, is it? MTV Best Fight Award, Wikipedia tells me, and that's something you seem to have taken into your climate campaigning. You've actually been arrested, is that right, for protests around kind of issues to do with climate change?
Yeah, well, mountaintop removal was one of the cases, and once again, it's just an issue of common sense. I mean, it's destructive in every single way, to poison the water, the air, the soil, especially when we have solutions available to us. And in fact, we do have solutions available to us to solve many of these crises that we face. I just finished taking a permaculture course in Australia for about a month, and one of the experts at the course taught me, who's actually from Mexico, taught me about how to make biofertilizer and lime sulfur and all of these things that you can make to get us off our heavy chemical-laden agricultural systems, and key line plowing and different forms of agriculture to sort of correct the industrial, monocropped and mechanized system. And the same thing goes for for the permaculture principles, adapting them to the way that we design our cities, the way that we design our homes. I mean, certainly a lot of our solutions could be more affordable, more available, more accessible, but we already have most of the solutions that we need to address the problems that we're facing, and we just need the will to employ them. And obviously with the dirty old fossil fuel industry and those industries that are making record profits even in this economy, it's hard to get them to change. But it's incumbent upon the public to insist upon it, or tell our politicians you're out of there. Tell those companies we're not going to support you and we're not going to participate.
And you say common sense is what drives you to do this, but there's not many people who are willing to get arrested for the sake of tackling climate change. Why do you think it is? And I'm thinking particularly of in the US now. Why is it that this issue is so kind of polarized and so divisive, and so many people aren't exercised by it at all? They don't seem to be worried, and yet there's others like yourself who are getting arrested.
Well, actually, I think the youth is actually very engaged and willing to lay their bodies on the line, and to they are. I mean, I've participated in actions where the majority of the tens of thousands of people that I've been taking action with are high school students. So, in fact, that I think we're starting to see that. But the polarizing part is advertising. It's brainwashing. It's just there's an attempt to polarize people and to make it political rather than a common sense issue, because it serves the pocketbook of the people who are still making a lot of money with these dirty old ways.
And we're broadcasting live from the Climate Summit here, the United Nations Climate Summit in Mexico. Why do you think it's important that people engage with this process?
Well, I mean, obviously we need strong legally binding legislation, but I mean, it is a very bizarre scenario. These things tend to be giant talk fests. Here it is 70 degrees outside, perfect temperature, and yet we've got air conditioning and in this giant energy intensive weird hall. It's very strange. I keep going, what's going on here? It's bizarre, and I don't understand. And a lot of people do like to talk a lot or like to make a show that they're going to do something. I mean, Stephen Chu was speaking, and apparently I missed his speech, but apparently nothing really concrete came out of his discussion. He's the energy secretary for my country, and it's disappointing. I don't know that I do believe in talk fests. I actually prefer action. But then again, a lot of people who are decision makers are here, so whatever we can do to influence them, it's important to do.
And I guess that's an interesting note. So do you think this is the kind of solutions that we need are going to come very much from a community level, or do you think that it's going to come kind of up here first and then people will decide to do it, or do we need people out on the streets and taking action?
Yeah, I believe that most of the solutions are community-based solutions. I mean, we need to decentralize the energy system. We need to decentralize our food and agricultural system. And I think that also the only way that I've ever learned that change actually happens is from the ground up and not from the top down. I mean, most politicians don't have the courage to actually be leaders because they are beholden to the people who put them in office. So it's incumbent upon the public to rise up and understand that they do have power.
Okay, well, it's probably a nice note to leave the conversation on, to kind of invite people to get out there and get on the streets and start taking action. We're going to go to a video now, but we'll be back in a couple of minutes with another conversation coming up. So Daryl, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.